Yes, I got a new microphone. It seemed a little silly to have a show that is nominally about improvement
And then not
to,
improve, or
to get worse and worse
yeah, go
constantly.
backwards with audio quality.
Right. That seemed sort of against the premise of the show. So,
hmm
how are you?
I'm doing well. I realized that I had not told you about this. Did I tell you that I got into a car accident?
Oh no, no, you didn't.
Okay, well, this happened on December 26th, the day after I got home from Christmas, and I was going back to Louisville. So I was on Baxter Avenue, and it's this one long road with a bunch of side streets on it, and none of these side streets really have lights or like stop signs. It's kind of like just use your best judgment. And
True.
I was driving up Baxter, and a person pulled out on the side street and then like went for it. They were like, I'm going to make this left turn. And it was like, and then they like stutter stepped. And as they were stutter stepping, I like slammed my brakes and I crashed right into the side of their car. Um, so I was fine. I immediately popped out of my car and I was asking everyone if they were okay. And they were fine. They like never ever got out of the car. I never met them. But the police came and I got to talk to them for a while and da 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 da. All this to say, the car accident was not my fault because they didn't yield at a stop sign. So I have it is the end of an era. I have lost the Suzuki Forenza, which I have named the Suzuki Forenzone. Um,
Um,
so yes, the Suzuki Forenzone is over. It's done, which is unfortunate. It's bittersweet. Um, but the reason I haven't talked about this much is because it was still a thing that I was dealing with like actively. So now, towards the end of the story, I have got in contact with my insurance company and their insurance company, da 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 da, and I ended up um, getting. They like had a settlement on the car, and because my car is totaled, they got a settlement on the car, and the offer price they gave me was $2,100 more than I paid for the car originally.
20 like
So
$2,100 more.
$2,100 more than I paid for the car years ago.
Shoo-wee.
So buy low, sell high. That's how you work the car. That's how you work the car market. You just have to drive a car and then crash into someone that has a really, really good insurance company and then have them pay for your car.
No, Zach, I think what this means is you paid way too much for a Suzuki Forenza.
Well, no, I paid like okay, so I got 4,000. I got 4,100, and so I paid $2,000 for the Suzuki Forenza.
Right, but what I'm saying is that like, oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the other way around. You
No,
got a
what I'm
super
saying
great deal
is,
on the Suzuki
yeah, I'm saying that.
Forenza. Right, because after all these years, it's gonna have depreciated value, and if it depreciated value to 4,000, then like you must have gotten it for a lot cheaper than it was.
Yeah, so I
It
like
should have cost way more. Oh wow, great, awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's the one thing that's been going on in my life right now. And Sam, this might be a story that will, keep or not. This is something that is insane has just recently happening. So, you and I, okay, Louisville is a place where you know everyone by 1 degree of separation.
Me
Um,
personally.
no, everyone knows everyone by 1 degree of separation. So if you're
Okay.
talking to someone, it's only a matter of time before you both realize, oh, you both know this person. Oh, okay, yeah. Like that's like the Louisville experience is meeting someone and being like, oh, we know a lot of the same people. That's really cool. Okay. And then moving on
Yeah.
from there. So Sam is originally from this town, and I have bumped into someone from a story from years ago. And
Oh
I'm
no.
been so excited to tell you.
Oh no.
So
Yeah, maybe we will cut this. I don't know what this story is gonna be.
So this was something that happened my second semester or our second semester, our freshman year. Everyone came back from Christmas break with this one gigantic story. And it was a story of these four or five gentlemen, these 18, 19-year olds that
Oh
broke
yeah.
into a middle school and then got arrested for going through an open window and moving around tables. So all this to say, I know I um know the wife of one of the guys, and I bumped into him and I was like, oh, that's so funny that this was a story that had been happening all throughout my college career, was everyone talking about this one thing, and I finally know one of them. And he was like, who told you that story? And I was like, everyone, this guy named Sam. And he was like, oh yeah, Sam Cherry, he's a cool guy. And I was like, what
Well,
the
tell me who
so
it was. Tell
it
me
was
which guy.
It was
It was
Chris.
Chris. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are you telling like you're telling who is the story for? They don't know the
I
story.
didn't
And I don't see the
I didn't
person.
want to say it's like I was trying to like avoid names so that
Sure.
whatever
Yeah, but
confidentiality. I don't know.
I want to know who
Um,
the guy. Yeah, yeah, Chris is great. He's a nice guy. Yeah, well, and what was so funny about that story, and the reason that you heard it so much and I gave you so much crap is because in high school we would all be hanging out and they'd be like, hey, we're gonna go climb on top of uh this school, and I was like, don't do that. That's trespassing. And they're like, nah, 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 it's fine. And I'm like, nah, 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 you're gonna go to jail. And they just this would happen like every couple of weeks. Like we'd be hanging out. We all just hung out together. It was a group of friends. You know, it was like a big group of friends in high school, and they actually went to a different school than me, but they were my friends. And they would do this every time and every time and every time. And then one time they said, "Hey, we're gonna go." I said, "You're gonna go to jail." And they're like, "No, we're good." And then I wake up the next day and there's this news story that these five kids were inside a middle school and, and went to jail and they got so much trouble. But then in college, you would come up to me and say, "Hey, let's climb on top of the buildings at
yep.
school." And I said, "Nah, nah, nah, you're gonna go to jail." And you're like, "Nah, nah, nah, it's
Yeah.
fine." You never went to jail, but you
Never
know what,
went to
man?
jail, but a good section of my college career was how can I get on top of buildings or how can I break into this place?
Ah, man, it's federal trespassing. You're gonna go to jail.
I feel like the worst that would happen is I'd have to have a meeting with like Gary Ransdale, who'd be like, "All right, you're suspended," which would be
What are you
terrible.
talking about? We're talking about what the worst that would happen, which is that you get arrested, you go to jail. That's what the worst that would happen. You spend a lot of money on lawyers. It's not
No,
like nobody
I
actually went
just
to
feel
jail.
like,
They
yeah,
just spent a ton of time in jail.
I feel like I would just get arrested or not arrested. I feel like I would just get like in trouble with the school. Like nothing would happen. I
I
feel like I would just get in trouble and like that was my entire thing was that I was a student there. All that would happen is like they would say something like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that. If you do it again, you're, gonna be suspended." Like I feel like I would just get a warning.
right. I understand that you think that. We are talking about a story where someone else told me, yes, that's what I think too. And they were wrong. And that's why you know who Chris is because he was
Mm.
wrong. And now you think the same thing. Here's the thing, you're also wrong. You would go
I
to jail.
mean, risk big, win big, and at the end of the day, you get to have a great story that he can now, that he can tell his wife and his unborn son because his wife is pregnant currently, which has been super happy. So yeah, like
Oh, that's,
that's just a great story to have for like future generations. So nothing bad happened. He's still out here.
he went to jail. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. He's fine. They'll turn out. You're, hey guys, don't climb on top of schools, or definitely don't climb inside of them. Like, don't do that. Like, you'll
Okay,
get caught. You'll go to jail.
that is Sam's piece of advice. I say go for it.
So dumb. Um, so I've been trying this new project in my house. Man, this
Okay,
microphone picks up the peas. That is a fact.
picks up the what?
Peas.
What does that mean?
Oh, I guess you'll hear it in the final version, but it is. You know when you like make a pea sound and it like
Oh. I thought you were saying like it picks up like you're currently eating peas and then it's like, oh man, I can't get away with doing this because it's picking it up.
it picks up the sound of me eating peas.
Yeah.
No, it just picks up the sound of the pea noise, which I'm saying a lot in these sentences. And if this comes through in the final edit, it's gonna really annoy some people. But they get this show for free, so whatever. Um. Anyway, I'm working on a project in my house where I try to eat everything in my refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
which turns out to be a little bit more difficult of a task than I thought it was gonna be. But like growing up, I would always like open the refrigerator and it would be full and there would be nothing to eat. And it always seemed like this really perplexing, like crazy thing of like, why I'm looking at the refrigerator that is full to the brim and there's nothing in here for me to eat. And like
Mm-hmm.
there's just and the reason is there's like so much like food wallpaper that becomes like you're just like you cook a meal and you buy two cans of beans instead of one can of beans
Yeah.
and now you just have this extra can of beans. You're like, well, I'm not gonna just throw this in the garbage, but then you never have a reason to to make beans ever again, and then to just like you accrue, especially in like the freezer and the pantry, like all the stuff in the refrigerator like goes bad and you just throw it in the trash.
Yeah.
But there's so much stuff in my freezer and in my pantry that I've like it's just become clutter in my it's become clutter in my refrigerator. And it's like, you know what, man? I like all this food. Like I like garlic bread. I like uh stovetop dressing. Like just make it. And so I've started a process of trying to like cook everything or like not go to the grocery store and buy any like one time meals, like not buy
Mhm.
like pizza or like ramen noodles or anything like that. Like I'm only going to buy things that will work in the service of getting some of this food out of my house and like trying to completely clean my fridge out. And it's been an interesting experience.
Yeah, yeah. I think I voiced this to you earlier. The idea of I really want to be able to like cook and buy ingredients with a purpose. Um, and I recently found this service. I forgot what it's called, but it gives you you have to pay for it. But I have a friend that has a subscription. He just sent me like the first week. It gives you a week grocery list, and then every single day it'll send you the meal you're having today. It's like buy all these things, and then the next day it'll like be like ping, and then you like look at it, it's like tonight you're eating like beef stroganoff, and then it'll like use the ingredients that you bought, and then it'll tell you exactly how to cook it.
So it's like
Which
Blue Apron without actually having to ship anything.
yeah, it's like Blue Apron, but you buy the ingredients.
It's smart. That's like a smart business model. Yeah, because like I bet that that's a big problem for Blue Apron is like, man, we really have to get these logistics right because we cannot send people spoiled food.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But if it's and you also have to deal with all the shipping costs, but their business model is just like we'll send you texts and emails and stuff
Yeah, like
to
send you recipes. Yeah, so it's only like I think it's like $12 a month, but you only pay like a one-time fee of like $120 or whatever. So
not a one-time fee, once a
yeah,
year.
once a year, whatever. Yeah, 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 yeah. Once a year, an annual fee.
You can either pay $12 a month or one-time fee of $120. I don't think that works out right.
It's like move
Cool.
it's like Movie Pass. Like, how does that work? Who's
Oh
making
my
money?
gosh.
Do you know about Movie Pass?
Yeah, Andrew has Movie Pass. He explained it to me, and it sounds
Dude,
insane.
it is insane. Okay, so well, first off, I have Movie Pass technically, but I don't have the Movie Pass card. What I'm about to explain to you is, so you know how it works, but for those that don't, Movie Pass is this monthly club or something, and you get an app, and then you get a card, and it is your Movie Pass card, and you kind like you open the app and you say like I'm going to see The Shape of Water at like 7:35 tonight, and then money for that movie will appear onto your card, and you just walk into the movie theater, you swipe that card, and they're like, all right, you're good, and then you just walk in the movie, and the fee for the monthly membership is $10 a month. So if you see one movie a month, you are breaking even. Who is and you can see one movie a day. So technically you can see 30 movies, and you can just do you and like honestly you could just like go say you're seeing a movie and just see another one, which is frowned upon, but whatever. um but the
Also,
idea
why
is
do you?
what.
It's wait a minute. I'm sorry. So it's $10 a month for unlimited movies, and you're still trying to find a way
Well, so
to not see
here's
the
the thing
movie.
about that. I looked into it. You can only see a movie one time. So, for example, I couldn't buy tickets for Thor Ragnarok more than one time.
Again, yeah, but I still feel like that's still an amazing deal.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. But that no, what I'm saying, I'm getting like the complexity of the deal. So you could see 30 movies or 31 movies. You could see a movie every single day and only pay
Right.
$10, and you're just making out like a bandit. And
Like in the back of the movie theater.
yeah, you're making out like a bandit in the back of the movie theater. I mean, like it's like Rent. You can just hang out in there.
I
Um,
mean, by like movie 16, you've seen all the good ones, so like you might as well.
yeah, you might as well just make out in the back of the movie theater. And like, yeah, for real, like go see,
Sherlock Gnome.
yeah, go
Like
see go see Sherlock Gnome and just
you're
make
not
out in the back of
watching
the theater.
Sherlock
Yeah, you're
Gnome.
not watching Sherlock Gnome. So, yeah, like, yeah, I don't know who is I there. No one could ever explain to me the business model of that, and then uh have be like, yeah, and this guy is making a ton of money. I feel like someone is going to have a meeting with like a stock investor at some point and be like, yeah, so we owe like $20,000. And like, I genuinely cannot see how they're making money off of this. It reminds me of like old internet, like Napster, where
Right.
everything was like too good to be true. And then it was too good to be true. And then the whole company got shut down. It reminds me of that in a way. But
Well,
I
I
mean,
wonder if it's, I would assume that like the subscription company gets like $1 of that $10, and then through the different like distributors and theaters and everything, like split up the rest of the money. And it's just because like, yeah, you're right, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, wait, why would a theater, I mean, theaters would have to, that whole thing about like, oh, they make most of their money in popcorn. It's like, man, it would really have to be like 99% of their money is in popcorn to give away that many movies. So like, because
yeah,
they have to like set that deal up, right? It's not like
I don't, yeah, but see,
it's
the
not
thing is,
literal money that's going on the card because like that doesn't make sense, and
yeah,
they
but I
they
also,
wouldn't.
yeah, but see, you can't. What I thought was you would just sign up for the app and then sign up for the subscription, and you can just walk in and like scan your phone. But you have to have the card before you do it because like you have to scan it. So I do think that like actual money is going onto this card.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Uh,
That doesn't make any sense because you know how much money they are getting from you, which is $10.
yeah. Yes.
And the I mean, yes, I guess that if they're putting $12 on the card and you give them $10 a month, like their business model would have to rely on like, oh, most people are never going to see a movie in a month. And so like there's all these people who sign up for it and then never go to the movies. And then that free money we use to pay for the people who actually go to the movies, but that still seems like a crazy model. I would assume they have to have some kind of deal with the theaters and the distribution companies.
I guess but so
But in the
someone,
meantime,
yeah. In the meantime, it's just like
making out like a
it's
bandit.
like yeah, yeah. In the meantime, it's like don't think about it. Like just receive this and like just like take this gift and run with it because it feels like I mean, yeah, it doesn't feel like a sustainable business model. Like the hole is closing and only like a couple of people are going to make it through. And then it's just like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to see a bunch of movies. And then that company totally went under like everyone thought it was going to. And then, but whatever, like I saw like X or Y, Z amount of movies and basically went into it for free.
Yeah,
Because the
that's
second,
crazy.
because like the first movie is like your subscription fee and the second movie's free and third movie's free. If you're going by that logic.
Right. No, I mean that's the way that I would look at it. Right. I mean it really is like, yeah, it's like, can you afford to see one for the price of one movie a month? Do you want to watch 10 movies a month? It's like, yeah. Like
Yeah, it
what?
feels like magic beans. They're just so for example, because this is the age of the internet, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess so. But if like a drifter on the street came to me with a similar deal, I'd be like, no, I don't know, I don't know what your angle is, but I don't trust you.
In my theory, I think it's probably the people behind the greatest company of all time, Joseph A. Bank, where you buy one suit and you get five Joseph A. Bank stores free. Probably those people have taken that business model and said, like, look, I know that I know you've heard of buy one movie, get one free. What about buy one movie, get 30 free? And they're like, man, if it works for Joseph A. Bank, it works for us.
Yeah, I
Four
don't.
free suits? What am I going to do with five new suits? That's crazy. I'm not responsible enough for that kind of power. Buy one suit, get four free. I'm going to be in Vegas. That's insane.
Yeah, because if you buy one suit and get four free, you know one of them's going
What?
to be like you have like okay. If I buy because I haven't got a suit from Joseph A. Bank, I should just for the giggles of it. I buy
You
one
don't
suit.
get one suit. You get five suits.
No, exactly.
No one walks out of there with one suit. No one's ever walked out of a Joseph A. Bank with one suit.
Use like
Ever.
that. That's a like if you go to Joseph Bank, that's a day. That's a whole day. You're not going in there for just like a pop and get a tie. Like no, you're walking out. You get
No,
five
you get
suits.
25 ties. You buy one tie, you get 25 ties free. It's right on the sign. They put it on the side of the building.
Oh my gosh. So if I'm going to get five suits and pay for one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run out of ideas. It's going to be a black suit. It's going to be like a blue suit, but like a navy blue suit, and then like a gray one, and then like a purple one and an orange one. Like there is no way that the last two suits are gonna make sense.
Here's the thing: one suit is gonna be on fire. It's just fire immediately, gone. We don't have. We can't handle the. We can't handle 5 suits. One of them just got to go on fire. Second,
Yeah.
um, dressing way too well for something really dirty because it's funny. So showing up to like mudding in the country in a full suit, that's your mudding suit. It's like
Yeah.
this is also trash. Second suit, trash. You got your funeral suit. Another suit is prom party. If you're going to a prom party,
Yeah.
you got to wear purple. You got to wear your
Mhm.
orange. And then your 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 drug dealer suit. You get a nice,
Yeah.
clean white suit.
Mhm. Oh, yes, of
Um,
course, an all white suit. I
oh,
don't know why I didn't think of that.
Halloween suit. What am I talking about? You got to tear one up and make it look like you're a zombie. So there you go. Three
Yeah.
suits
Yes.
immediately. You got your mudding suit. One's on fire just right away, and then your zombie suit,
Yeah.
and then you got your cocaine suit and
Yes.
your regular black suit. So you go in for a black suit and you
Yes.
come out with 4
So
costumes, basically.
that's true. I would say that one of the suits for me, I think I would sub out zombie suit for like Easter Sunday suit. That would be like, it'd be like lime green and it'd be like insane. That would be my like I'd wear this once a year and it's like this is my extremely silly suit that I wear once a year.
Can I give you a suggestion?
Yes.
Swap out Easter Sunday suit for Easter Bunny suit.
Boom, bam. That's like my pink suit and I just get some one
Yeah,
talk
that's
of
it.
the town.
Talk of the town. Yeah, Movie Pass seems great. I should probably get one.
Yeah, well, I've been waiting for my movie pass card for what feels like an eternity. So, but once I get it, woof, that company's going under.
Woo-wee. So how's the cooking thing going?
Oh, it's going poorly. I am so the thing is, and like it's great to finally have an excuse to not do something. Because now that I don't have a car, I can't shop for groceries because I've been biking everywhere. So with a backpack with a change of clothes, which has been really great.
I bet the
So
kids. I bet the kids when you substitute teach, they just
oh,
let that because they understand and I'm sure they
mhm.
treat you very well about riding up on a bicycle.
Yeah. Finding bike parking has always been kind of difficult. So that's been another thing. And it's also been snowing. Anyway, so I don't have a car to do groceries. So now I can finally be like, oh man, like I totally would buy all this stuff, but I don't have money for, I don't have like, groceries. Like I don't have a way to transport this. So next time I'll totally do it.
So I'm just gonna watch 17 movies instead.
Yeah. So cooking not so great, but I have still been making some mean enchiladas, which has been a good use of my time.
I'm at Skyline Chili today, and I'm probably gonna eat the rest of it as soon as we get off this call.
Good, great.
It's just spaghetti and chili, and it's so delicious.
That does sound good.
Oh, pro tip for if you're trying to eat your whole refrigerator,
Mm-hmm.
just put hot sauce on everything. That's what I learned.
This what?
Because there's hot sauce. There's some food.
Oh,
Here's the thing. There's some food that it's like, man, if I was gonna use this, if I was gonna like if I have a thing with like kidney beans, it's like, am I gonna plan an entire meal around kidney beans? No, sir. I'm not gonna do that. If I could plan an entire meal around kidney beans, I wouldn't be in this predicament in the first place. So you just make a bowl of kidney beans, put hot sauce all over it. Problem solved. So that's my solution for eating everything in my fridge. It's just I'm gonna put hot sauce all over everything.
that's good. Don't I don't trust, my body with hot sauce. I don't even try to eat hot sauce. It's something I should try to, expand my range on because I feel like nothing will it feels like that's like the wussiest thing that could happen is just like someone puts the tiniest amount of hot sauce on something. And I'm like, woof, boy, that's too much. Nope.
I basically my opinion on food is like my favorite foods are just regular foods but spicy. So
Mm-hmm.
like my favorite soup is pho, like Vietnamese
Ooh,
pho.
yeah, dude, that's
Pho.
great.
It's like soup but it's spicy. Or
Yeah,
like my wife makes chorizo all the time, right? And so
Hmm.
it's like, oh yeah, it's like sausage, but it's spicy. Like, yes, that's what I want. Yes, that is, or like
Mm.
Indian food. It's like, oh, it's like Chinese food, but it's spicy. Yes, that's what
Mm.
I that is the version of
Mm.
this that I want.
Yeah, I've been this never happened for me in Bowling Green because of how commercial the restaurants were, but I've been finally expanding my palate to like other areas of the world. And I have recently, not recently, like probably a year ago, been introduced to pho, and I have been tearing that apart. It is so
Sure.
good. If you haven't had pho, get that in your system. It is great.
It's also what is it? PHO? Pho.
Yeah, PHO with like some kind of like a line above the O.
Yeah. Yeah, like we eat a lot of Asian food. Like and pretty regularly in the rotation it's like, oh, do you want to go get Chinese food, or we had sushi last night, or we'll get pho, or we'll get Indian food. And like
Mm,
that I think I could I could just go on that rotation for, a month of just
yeah.
different kinds of Asian food. It's delicious.
Mm.
But you know
I
what? You
don't,
know what kind of sushi I get?
what?
Sushi, but like spicy.
Like spice. Yeah, I think my go-to with the sushi is like spicy crab. If that's a part of the mix, it's like sold. Don't need the other ingredients. Sold spicy crab. Let's hit it.
When I was in Senegal, they would have these little, like, basically the way you eat is you get these huge bowls that are just like rice and then some kind of meat in them. And then they
Hmm.
would have these tiny little bowls of spice. And it would really be like and like I don't know what it was, like lava magic. I have no idea what was this food I was putting on it, but you would take like little, like a grain of this orange spice, and you would put it on your food. And I don't know why I was like punishing myself that this is how I would eat. You're already like in some dugout, like up, 2 feet down in the ground, but you kind of like walk down some steps, and it's 100 degrees in this restaurant, so you're already sweating when you walk in. It's 200 degrees outside. You get this hot rice and lamb, meal, and then you just put spicy food on it, and you just sweat the entire meal, and you eat, and it's like these huge proportions. Like it's like more food than you ever. Every meal in Senegal was the biggest meal I'd ever eaten, and you would just eat and eat and eat and sweat for an hour, and it was just and I don't know what about that stuck with me, but then I came back home and I was like, oh my gosh, all I want is Senegalese food. And the closest thing I could find was Thai food, and it was like, oh, cool, I'm just gonna eat Thai food all the time, and that's how I got into Asian food. It was like, oh, it's like Senegalese. It's just hot. It's hot food. That's what I want. I'm gonna eat that all day. But for some reason,
I
hot environment, hot food.
that okay, yeah, sure. I like that you said I felt like I was punishing myself, which is that's why as you said I was like, okay, great. That's why I don't want that. I don't want to live that lifestyle.
No, yeah, no, seriously. Like when I have pho, it's like I eat like a good bite of just like the base pho. It's like, cool, I want to throw every ingredient into this, and then all of the sriracha sauce, and like I want it. I want to sweat when I eat this, and I don't know what's broken about me that's how I like to eat food, but it's like, yes, I want this to take 2 hours because it is burning my mouth. That's what I want to do.
Man, shout out to you.
Yeah, I'm broken. So you had a topic?
Yes, this is something that I have been thinking over for a while, and have finally had the opportunity to put in words. Um, so what I sent Sam was, and I think this is something that I don't think is just me that had this, because it had okay. So this whole concept is the idea of cultural saturation, and specifically pop culture saturation. And what I mean by that is, so for example, if you eat a teriyaki chicken, the process of eating a teriyaki chicken is you saturate it in the teriyaki for a very long time, so much so that you can't even taste the chicken anymore because it is been saturated in this flavor for so long. And
Right.
to remove those two is extremely difficult. And I think in the same way, for me especially, there are elements of like pop culture, especially romantic pop culture, that put me in a state of like heightened expectations for everything. especially with my romantic life. All this to say, the reason I've been thinking about this a lot is I have started dating someone, and I have realized this more and more as our relationship has progressed. The idea
Oh,
of,
fun.
yeah, exactly. The idea of heightened expectations and treating the other person not as a way to be surprised, but a checklist of expectations and an excuse to be disappointed. Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
bummer.
You do, but though, but the reason why I think that I can talk about this is I'm in the process of arriving on the other side of it. That it has been something that I've been working through, especially after having noticed it with the time we've spent together, and not. It reminds me of the idea of this whole saturation being expectations versus disappointment is harkening back to the movie 500 Days of Summer, which
Oh,
has this if you haven't seen the movie, do it. It's amazing. It has this very beautifully directed scene where it is the main character going to a party where he is seeing this girl, and the screen divides into two simultaneous realities. One of his expectations and one of the reality. And you get to watch those scenes right next to each other. And so it's almost like it's a way of seeing how he thought the evening would go versus how it's actually going. And you can like feel that disappointment in that character because of how great that scene is like shot. And I think that the whole point of that movie wasn't that she was wrong and he was right. The movie, it goes that he was wrong because he was so overly saturated with like the Smiths and other pop culture happenings, and he couldn't be excited about who he was with because she wasn't checking all of the she wasn't like checking all of the boxes. And it has been a process of me realizing this, and then like one, accepting that this person is a person and not a figment of my imagination, and two, being surprised by who they are rather than who I expect them to be. Um, did you see The Last Jedi?
yeah.
How did you feel about it?
That was fine. It was a good movie.
Okay, great. Well, if you guys aren't aware, The Last Jedi is this movie that's having a lot of fan backlash about it, because I think The Last Jedi is brilliant, primarily because this one thing it does. The movie really feels like, and spoilers or whatever, if you haven't seen that movie, then you're not going to. um, the movie has this way of every single time it feels like it's going to give you the exact same thing that happened in previous Star Wars movies, it takes it away from you. Like the
Yeah. I
entire
mean, don't
movie feels like it is.
hold on. Let's not actually spoil the movie because we've given them
Hmm?
no way to like if someone hasn't watched the movie, which maybe they've already paused the podcast, they will stop listening to the episode.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Well, no. Well, I'm not actually
I
going to.
don't
I'm
think we're
actually.
actually okay. If we
I'm
were
not
gonna
actually going to
just like,
spoil
oh,
them.
we're gonna have a discussion about it, then like, cool, we can do that at the end. But
Yeah.
let's not just
Well,
in the middle of the podcast spoil the
no, no,
last
no. Well,
Jedi.
I mean,
Okay,
the idea of it is that there was a lot of
it's
there's
subvert your expectations. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of fan backlash, and I saw this picture on Twitter, and it said it was like Star Wars: The Last Jedi, directed by you, written by you, and then it had like all these things happening in the background, where it was like this happens, and this happens, and then at the bottom of it it said because there is no better writer than your imagination. Like you will always like the joke is you were disappointed from a movie that you hadn't seen because you already wrote the movie in your head,
Right.
and because it didn't follow up with your expectations, you didn't like a good movie because you were upset that it didn't follow exactly what you wanted it to be. And that's kind
Yeah.
of the movie plays with that. Like there are scenes, I'm not going to spoil it, but there are scenes where it's like it genuinely feels like it's going in a certain direction. And then it's like boom, like it feels like it's following the same path as Empire Strikes Back, and at the very last second, it takes that away from you, and it's like, no, you don't get to have this because the movie is trying to teach you a greater lesson and develop a greater theme of like what it means to be a hero. And it every time that it almost becomes The Empire Strikes Back, it takes away from you at the last second. And I think that is so brilliant. And that elicited a lot of rage because it didn't measure up to the expectations that were in people's heads. And I feel like every single person had already written that Star Wars movie in their head. So everyone is disappointed for different reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably you're using this as a vehicle to talk about other things, but to talk about it a little bit,
Yeah.
I like Star Wars a lot, but I think as a reaction to like new generation Star Wars, like of the last three movies, it has turned me into someone who like, oh man, I just don't want to get emotionally invested in this franchise
Mm-hmm.
because the fans are real dumb. Like, I mean, not real dumb. Like, I'm a fan of Star Wars, I get that, but like this whole like this whole outrage about like, well, it's not run. It's like, dude, it's a freaking space movie. Like, it's not. They're good. Like, they're good movies, but like they're like Marvel movies. Like, they're not gonna blow your mind. Like, they're not. You know what I mean? Like, it's a space movie with space wizards. Like, who cares? Like, really? Like, who cares? Like,
Mm-hmm.
man, if you are this invested in the plot of a Star Wars movie, I'm telling you, brother, you need to like I'm telling you as someone who is very invested in film and like cares about film and cares about story, like there's there are other movies and there are other like properties and like not even franchises, just like I think I'm very personally burnt out on like, man, if I never have to hear about superheroes ever again, I think I'm probably good. And just like if you and I think probably because I spend a lot of time on YouTube and I see there's this whole like community of people who have built their entire careers on talking about like who could win in a fight, Thor, Captain America, and it's like, man, this seems really juvenile and really stupid and like it seems dumb that we put this much cultural energy into thinking about a space wizard movie. Like, who
Yeah.
cares, guys? Like, it's a space wizard movie. Like, I understand if it's like real hot garbage, like the prequels are hot garbage. The prequels are like
Yes.
atrociously bad movies, and it's like, yes, okay, yeah, we should make fun of them until the sun explodes. But like the Last Jedi is like fine, like it's fine, like it's fine. It's a good movie.
Yeah, yeah. It is.
Why
Yeah. Like
like
it's
why are you so upset about this? It's fine.
uh one of my favorite. I've been seeing these reviews. My favorite reviews are the ones that say like I walked out after 20 minutes. Those are my favorite reviews. I read all those religiously. Because it's like I walked out after 20 minutes like I don't understand how narratives work. I'm out of here.
This was different than I thought it was. And I was like, well, yeah, dude. And you know what? Like, if you went back and watched the originals, those are probably different than you thought they were too. Like, they're a little silly. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's something I've been thinking about a lot is like people being frustrated with media that doesn't like take itself super seriously.
Mhm.
Like, oh man, why did this character arc not and especially when you see like adult animation. Like, I'm an animator. This is why I know any of this because I don't really have the disposition of wanting to be around animation, but like I'm an animator.
Yeah.
And you see this with shows like there's a plot line in Adventure Time where there's this big thing that happens, and like honestly, they do put a lot of like they do like take themselves seriously for a couple of episodes, and then they're just like there's this big thing that happens, and then it's like zoobity doo, never mind, let's go back to being a silly show.
Yeah, yeah,
And it gets really frustrating, but then it's like, dude, this is a show for like if you want to go watch Schindler's List, watch Schindler's List. Like, what is wrong with
yeah.
or like or like Rick and Morty. Like, oh my gosh, so quickly, everyone on the internet, all they wanted to, there's a character in Rick and Morty. His name's Evil Morty. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
most of the time the show isn't narrative, like or isn't like serialized, like there's not a continuing plot line through the show.
Yeah,
But
there's
there's a couple episodes. There's like 2 or 3 episodes that are like, oh, are this one continuing plot line. And after one of those in particular, a really good episode, the what is it? The man Morturian candidate, the one that's The Wire, the episode that's The Wire.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm talking
yeah.
about?
No, it's yeah, the one where they go to I don't know the name. The Manchurian Candidate is the last episode of the season, and
No, it's not.
I think I know. Yeah, I know what you're. Yeah, no, 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 it is. Because what happened was is they in Rick and Morty they release all the episode titles at the beginning of the season, and so you know what all episodes are happening. And when they brought back this old fan favorite character named Evil Morty in this one episode that was about 3 episodes prior to the end of the season, and then the very last episode was called the Ricturian Candidate or whatever, and everybody thought that it was going to be
Oh,
yeah the Ricturian Morty date. Everybody thought that it was going to be about Evil Morty and it was going to follow that plot line, and it didn't. It went on this like completely silly one-off episode that is like the season closer, and everyone or like for a little while there the internet lost its, or the Rick and Morty fan base, the crazy ones, lost their collective minds because
well,
it did.
and even before, sorry, go ahead.
Oh well, the episode you were talking about, the one that's The Wire, is called the the Rick Lantis mix up.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Because they
Yeah,
do the
because
joke about
yeah,
Atlantis.
they start with him going to Atlantis, and then it never follows that story.
Oh, that's a really funny joke. Um, but as soon as the Wire one came out, like everyone is just like, oh, and then like there's this guy who does Game of Thrones breakdowns, and he's really, I don't know, he's frustrating to me because he will like spoil the shit. Let me get to this point that I'm trying to make. It's actually kind of a different point. But anyway, every episode he's like, "Oh, well, see this line that was a reference to Evil Morty, and he's gonna come back in this way." And oh, maybe, and he does like predictions, and he's pretty good at it, which is actually something that's frustrating. But he does like predictions for the next episode, and he's like, "Oh," and everything became about Evil Morty, and like it's something that's frustrating to me because it's like, guys, this is a silly show. Like, just let this be a silly show. Like, this does not have to be The Wire. Like, it doesn't,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm so man. If I have to see one more thing about like, oh, every show is actually connected in the same unit. It's like, man, sometimes these people are just like making movies and they like to make references to their own movies. You don't need to draw some spider web of how they're actually all the same universe.
Yeah, yeah.
Who cares? Like, who cares if
Yeah,
the universe? What does that matter at all
yeah,
to the story?
yeah. Who cares if
Like,
Django Unchained is related to Pulp Fiction? Like, whatever.
no, that's the one that I think is cool. Like the
Oh,
Quentin
never
Tarantino
mind.
one I thought was cool. Well, but I feel like ever since that, because everyone learns about the Tarantino thing, that's like a thing of like, oh, every like, oh my gosh, like Pixar theory. I don't think that guy was serious, and that's
Oh,
funny.
absolutely
And it's
not.
funny.
Yeah,
No, it's funny because it's not serious. But then you see, like, I think those two things were the first ones I saw, and then it becomes like every single thing has to be connected, and all these shows. Or like I saw some video where it was like proof that Rick knows that he's in a cartoon because it's the one like clip show episode where they lose their memories. And
Mhm.
he says, like, it's like a clip show episode. And he says it to the camera.
Yeah, yeah,
And so this guy does a whole video about, like, finally, we have definitive proof. And it's like, it's a silly show. It's a silly show.
yeah,
Like, it's not
yeah.
supposed, like, it's not going to change the storyline. He's not going to have an existential crisis because he's a cartoon and that's what season 4 is about. Like,
hmm
it doesn't matter. It's a silly show.
Yeah, yeah. One
Like,
like one of the fan favorite episodes follows the main character as a pickle the entire episode. Wackety Schmidt. Like it's not
my
serious.
well, and then like, so back to this tuber guy. He does like, he has a really silly name. His tag name is Emergency Awesome. It's very silly. But he does like Game
Mhm.
of Thrones wrap ups, which I like. Like after each episode, he'll be like, "Oh, so here's what happened on the episode. Let's talk about it. It's cool." But I kind of can't watch it because he'll. I swear to you, this happened where he was like, "So I think this season, this character is gonna kill this other character because in a cast photo," and he pulls up this like, here in a cast photo. from a behind the scenes shoot, this other character has a knife on them, and if you zoom in, it's actually the knife that this first character owns, which means they must have been shooting a scene where she has his knife, which means she's probably going to kill him. And it's like, hey, man, I know that you haven't read the script, but you just spoiled the damn show for me. Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you? And like, this, like, and the thing about and so it ended up not being true, which was great. But the thing about the Rick and Morty thing, where he's like, oh, yeah. So in the Adult Swim description of the last episode, it says Rick has a meeting with the president. So this means that evil Morty is coming back and da 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 da. And actually, this kind of relates to your Star Wars thing, where in both of those examples are what happens to Star Wars. When you sit there and you do all your predictions and you do all your guessing, either one of two things are going to happen. You're going to be right and you're going to spoil it, or you're going to be wrong and I'm going to be disappointed. Because, like, it did spoil a thing. The one character did kill the other character, and I knew about it, 4 weeks before it happened, and I ruined the surprise because I knew it was going to happen. Because he's like, look, in this photo, she's got his knife, and we haven't seen that knife for 4 seasons. So, like, that must be, if it comes back up, it's got to come up in this way. And like, and it's true. And I was like, oh, cool, you ruined that part. Great. And then with the Rick and Morty thing, he doesn't meet the president, and I was really excited. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. They're gonna go back to the Wire thing. Like, oh, that'll be cool." And then it was a silly episode. I was like, "Oh, this is a bummer." Like, I don't know. And Star Wars is rife with that everywhere, where everything that happens is like, oh, well, in this scene of the trailer or this clip of the trailer, there's this, which means, and they're either gonna tell me something that's really cool that doesn't end up happening, or they're gonna tell me something that's really cool that now gets spoiled for me. And it's like, why are you, what is wrong with you people? Why do you do this?
Yeah. And well, yeah, that kind of goes, that example got away from me. But yeah, so and then you kind of run the risk of saying like, well, if I had written the movie and da 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 da, like me with all this industry insight, like if I'd written this movie, it'd have been so much better. And then like you kind of get in your own head about like getting disappointed that everything didn't go exactly your way. And it is because that didn't happen because it wasn't your movie. It is therefore objectively worse because it wasn't something you, with all of your knowledge, made,
Right. And it's a silly Space Wizard movie that was like pretty good.
Yes. And I will say this, there is one scene in that movie where I think that the director, through Luke Skywalker, addresses all of that. And I think it's super brilliant. There is a line, I watched it the second time, and Luke has this line where Rey is trying to get him to come back and fight with the Resistance. And then he says, what do you think is going to happen here? That I'm just going to show up with my laser sword and take out the entire First Order? Is that what you think is going to happen? And then they go on and have the rest of the thing. But I think that is like, that was a line directly to the audience of like, do you and basically it's like your idea of a movie where like Luke does that and yada, yada, yada is objectively a worse movie.
It's a dumb idea
because it's a bad movie. It's like, and then everything works out forever for everyone. And then there is no character growth. It's all like, well, we found Luke, and then Luke like sprung an action and then destroyed the entire First Order and Kylo Ren, and that's the end of it. Do. And then it's like, okay. And do you think that's a better movie? That's a worse movie.
Yeah.
Than like
that's not challenging at all. And like if it doesn't challenge you, like then that's probably not a good film. Like if it doesn't make you think or challenge your expectations, and if it gives you all your expectations, then it's not a good movie.
And people always reference, and we're getting off topic, whatever. People always reference The Empire Strikes Back as the greatest Star Wars movie ever, of the 9. It's like the best Star Wars movie because not everything worked out for the characters. And they actually had to like make sacrifices, and like they had to deal with the consequences of their actions. And they're like, that's the best one ever because it's the only one that things don't work out in the exact way that it should have worked out. Because the very next movie, Return of the Jedi, everything works out for all the characters. And even Darth Vader gets his redemption arc at the very end. Like everything works out for everyone, and then yeah, even Darth Vader becomes a Force ghost. Like everything works out, and then it ends. Whereas this one kind of follows that same pattern, where like in the it doesn't work out for all the characters, and they have to deal with challenges, and they have to like have genuine sacrifices. And it is simultaneously, because if you go back and watch Star Wars, they're all kind of the same movie. They're all very similar. They all follow a very similar arc, and they go up and down, and then that's the end of it. Where The Last Jedi, it is simultaneously, it is the least Star Wars movie, but it feels like the most Star Wars movie, because it harkens back to the time where, this is my problem with that entire saga. I think, well, my personal favorite of all of them is A New Hope, because when you first meet these characters, Han Solo's just a guy, and Luke Skywalker is just a farmhand that just happens to have this past. And then like Leia is this person, or this princess that's lost everything. But for the most part, it is a ragtag group of people that have to rise above their collective selves to become greater and to fight for something that they believe in. That is the entire point. And then as the movies go on, it's like, oh, and by the way, that villain is your dad, and like, and you are like the strongest Force person ever, and da 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 da. And then like they give them all of these, like it cheapens the idea that anyone can be a hero. And I think The Last Jedi really pushes that home, is that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you're like a stable hand on some casino planet, or you are like someone that is born with the Force and and is from Jakar, or Jakku, or whatever it's called. You can be a hero because of what you choose to be, not because of who you were prior to the events of the movie.
Yeah, it's like a good movie with space wizards.
Yes, good movie, Space Wizards. All this to say, that got away from the original point, which you're right, I was going to a thing. So you are always, in your head, you're always the best writer. And what you're essentially pitching is a worse life. You're pitching for your own life a worse thing, because for me, it was going to like follow a very X, Y, and Z pattern. And because the relationship I'm in right now, it's like, it's not following the path that I had aligned for myself, because it's better, because I have more opportunities to be surprised by who this person actually is, rather than this creation I had of it in my mind of what my future relationship would be like. And I think it's, what I'm getting at here is, it's dangerous to spend so much time in your head creating a future for yourself, because you're going to miss the better things that are happening in front of you. There's a comedian named Patton Oswalt who genuinely is one of my favorite comedians, and I think he's truly a genius. There is on his stand-up special, Werewolves and Lollipops, a heckler interrupts his show, and in order to get back at this heckler, Patton Oswalt describes how to write a joke to this person. And then like, cause he's like, okay, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I'm gonna tell this joke again. And then he like essentially says exactly what's gonna happen. And then he tells the joke. And then he says, and like basically the heckler he interrupted him at a moment where that was like, it was like the noise, there wasn't a lot of energy. And then it was to create like a kind of a snap of like low energy to high energy. And that's where the comedy is. And that's kind of what he explained to this heckler. And then he goes through and says the joke again. And he says, see how everything got loud right after you made that noise? And then he says, like, you didn't wait for that. Like, you could have, if you just waited one more moment, you would have seen where I was going with that. And then he says, what I think is his best quote ever. He says to that heckler, he says, you're going to miss everything cool and die angry, which is the greatest thing to say to a person. Like, you're going to miss everything cool and die angry. And I think that is like basically what you and I have been talking about. Whereas if you invent a story in like your Space Wizards or your Rick and Morty or in your own life, what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for failure. And it's not that things aren't measuring up to what you had predicted. It's that you're missing the better thing and you're going to miss everything cool and die angry.
Right. So I'm just trying to connect your threads here. I mean, that's great. Do you think that for you, this is a result of overexposure to pop culture?
Oh, absolutely. I think that because well, for me especially, I had,
It's like a John Hughes thing.
yes, I had a lot of my childhood and most formidable years was spent like alone. And I had a lot of time to just like watch movies. And I think the majority of the movies I watched were just like, 1980s, like Pretty in Pink, Somewhere's Fire, like Breakfast Club, and Ferris Bueller, like these movies that like all follow this like storybook sort of narrative where everything always works out for the characters, and like all these like romantic comedies where it's funny because going back and watching them, I missed the point, and the point is saying that like there's some of them especially like when I was growing up and I watched 500 Days of Summer. I had the mentality of like she was wrong, he was right. And then going back and watching it now, it like has a completely different meaning. It's like, oh, you oversaturated yourself with love songs and the idea of chasing this feeling that you completely missed the point. And because of that, you only went after this girl because she was who you'd always expected and kind of been told to pursue. And it's like there are in that movie, there's like almost like Zoe Deschanel, whose character I can't remember the name of. There's almost like two
Wait,
versions of
hold
her.
on.
Yes.
You can't remember Zoe Deschanel's character in 500 Days of Summer?
Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. Yeah. So Zoe Deschanel's Summer. Um,
There you go.
oh my gosh, I hate that about myself. Okay. So Summer, there's like almost two versions of that character happening at the same time. There is the real version of her, and then there is the one that he is creating because of his expectations of what like his future and his wife is supposed to be like. And I think if you're not careful and you're like me, you can follow a similar path where you're not getting to know who the person really is because you are creating who you want them to be, and it's like you're putting that as a projection over them rather than getting to know the real person. And I think that's something that I was dealing with for the past couple of weeks because I could feel myself kind of having that happen to me. And through the process of like journaling and being like on top of getting rid of expectations, which has happened through saturation of pop culture, I have been able to kind of get on the other side of that. And it's what it's like just a thing that I'm going through. And I think a thing that I'm able to conquer just through realization that the things that I like, the media that I put in my brain, all this like pop culture and like romantic comedies, whatever, was kind of like obstructing my view of what life was really like. And the only way to be successful or be happy or whatever is to kind of remove that from yourself so that you can like see the world for what it is rather than what you want it to be.
Hmm. Interesting.
You're darn right.
So
It's
you-
interesting. What? No, yeah, I'm good. I'm done unless you have more questions.
When was the last time you saw 16 Candles?
Probably when I was like 15.
Oof, you might want to give a second pass on that one. It is not very good.
Oh, really?
It's
Okay, great. Well
it's
then,
it's it's essentially the exact same plot as Pretty in Pink, except for all of the characters are monsters.
oh, good. That's one thing you
Yeah.
notice when you go like when you start thinking about romantic comedies. One thing you notice is that like you are genuinely rooting for the villains. Like they are awful characters. Like all the leads in romantic comedies are usually terrible, and they kind of get away with it. Like
Yeah, you might want to
have
give Pretty in Pink, or not Pretty in Pink,
good.
16 Candles another pass because it falls
Um,
into that category.
did you have you jumped at the movie While You Were Sleeping?
No, what?
It is an insano movie. I think it's Sandra Bullock. It's Sandra Bullock, and so basically, Sandra Bullock like falls in love with this guy, like love at first sight sort of thing. They never talk. The guy goes into a coma, and then she, in front of in front of that guy's entire family, she shows up in the hospital to like console this guy she's never met, and then she pretends to be his fiance to his family while he is in a coma.
Why is Sandra
So
Bullock
that
always in
when
these movies? What do they do?
so that when he wakes up, she'll be like, "Oh, by the way, we're engaged," in the hopes that he'll be like, "Oh yeah, we are."
Poor Sandra Bullock. Who writes that? Who writes that movie?
I don't know, but it's funny because as you're watching the movie, like when you're watching it the first time without realizing how insane it is, she's like being all quirky and cute. So you're just like, "Oh, she's great. I really hope she ends up with that guy." Like the entire time, and then you're like, "Wait a minute."
Uh, yeah, I was thinking about this today with like, well, speaking of space wizards, wizards and capes and all these dumb superhero movies, like watching like I assume first of all, there are lots of good writers making lots of very good television. I think all of them have decided to go make good television. Like
Hmm.
I imagine there's this whole team of executives who are terrible. And then
Yeah.
there's this team of writers who are really good, and all the writers left to go make Netflix shows. And then all you have is these executives who are like, this is what I imagine. It's a boardroom full of people
Hmm.
who are good looking and charismatic. So they've been able to get ahead in life really easily. But the problem is they're very dumb and they're high on cocaine.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just every time I watch one of these movies, I'm like, everyone in this room must have been high on cocaine. Like Batman
That's
versus
it.
Superman, the big like twist, the big like conclusion of Batman versus Superman, it was like everyone had to be high on cocaine. Everyone in this entire process to let this go through as the conclusion of the movie, everyone was high on cocaine. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Which is funny because like it's not like you had that's the Batman and Superman really like the whole DC universe that with the beating a dead horse really. But like the problem with it is like they're not making up these characters. Like we
Yeah, there's
have
so many stories.
like we have receipts. Like we can be like you could have done this. It's like oh you're making up your own story. No, you have almost 100 years worth of stories just like right there and you could have just done one of those and we would have been stoked because of how good they are. You could have just done that, but instead you did a much worse thing because you wanted to be like a twist. You did a bad twist. Just do the thing that's already there
Or
and then
don't
you'll be
like
fine.
or like I don't I see that doesn't bother me. I don't care if they do that because like Spider-Man Homecoming was really good and like it's an original story. Like it's not from one of the comics. But like, I mean, yes, that the Vulture is from one the comics and stuff, but like that's
Yeah,
not pulling from a specific
yeah,
story.
But
It's
it's
not like
like
Flashpoint.
you
But
but it's almost like they're inventing it's like meet this guy Superman. It's like we already know who that is. Meet this guy Batman. We already know who that guy is. Like we know who these people are. And then when you like portray them in like a really bad way, you as like an audience, you notice. You're like, that's not Superman. I don't know who that is, but that's not Superman.
oh, see that doesn't see I never read the comics. That doesn't bother me.
Okay,
What
well that
bothers
bothers
me it's like okay, and this is a topic we've talked about for a future episode, but comparing Guardians of the Galaxy to Suicide Squad, like
me. Hmm.
just the briefest version of that, because we're probably at an hour, but like the briefest version of that is there's a scene in Guardians of the Galaxy where the red guy talks about like previously had talked about the idea that they are friends. Talked about them being friends in some sort of manner. They've been together, they've gone through some adventures, but like you kind of see this friendship developing and growing. And then there's a moment where a bad guy tries to beat up one of his teammates and he like punches him hard in the face and he's like, you know, don't don't mess with my friend. And he like
Hmm.
kind of turns around and gives some like if I'm remembering this right, like turns around and gives a cheesy smile, like, get it? Friends, we're friends, right? And they like had built that up, had been talking about this.
Hmm.
And again, that movie takes place over a couple weeks, probably. So they spend like 2 or 3 weeks together as a story. It's a pretty compact story, but still, it takes over 2 or 3 weeks. Suicide Squad takes place over like 3 hours. Like they
Yeah.
seriously, like the characters meet, and then 3 hours later, the movie is over, which is fine. Like that's fine. Deadpool's the same way. Also, as much as I resent uh, superhero movies, I'm realizing that I've watched all of them.
Yeah, yeah. I think
But
that's everyone in the world right now. Everyone's like, I'm so sick of these, but you have my money until the end of time.
I know I should probably just stop watching them, but I don't know. But I'm gonna watch Black Panthers, and I'm gonna watch Infinity War, so I don't know what
Yeah.
I'm. Yeah, you have my money forever. But
Yeah.
anyway, in Suicide Squad, we're like, apropos of nothing, at the end of the movie, Diablo is like, the bad guy is trying to beat up the other team members, and he says, I've already lost one family. I'm not gonna lose another one. And I remember me and Andrew laughing out loud in the theater because it was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? These players, you have not actually had a line of dialogue with every person in the team. Like, do you get that? Like, you have
Yeah.
not had a one-on-one conversation with everyone in this team over the course of the movie. You do not know these people at all. You've gotten, they put explosives in your neck, and if you didn't do what they said, you would die. And that was an hour and a half ago. And like now they're literally like, I'm not like an hour and a half ago.
You have one scene in a bar where you have like a moment of humanity and it's like, all right, we're family now.
Yeah, but also, but the thing is, he doesn't even say that. Like that's the thing is, if he had said that in the bar, that would be stupid, but fine. Like we as the audience would be like, okay, this is dumb, but I guess that's the setup, right? You have a setup and a payoff, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, we've set up that he thinks of them as family, even though I think that is stupid. Oh, this is your family now. Still think that is stupid, but like whatever, you've set that up as a thing. This is just like out of nowhere. He's like, yes, these are my family now. These people are my family, and I will not lose my family. And it's like, and again, in Guardians, it's like not only do they talk about it before, and there's enough time for that to make sense. He just says friends. He's like, these are my friends. Like, hey, don't mess
Yeah.
with my friends. And like, essentially, they are the same movie. It's like ragtag group of random people come together and have to, go and like, oh, they have to go to this place, and then they go to a second location for another thing, and then they have a big fight at the end, and then it's over. Like, it's a pretty standard formula for a team up movie.
Yeah.
And one of them is really good and really fun, and the other one is like I don't know. It's a terrible garbage fire. I assume everyone's on cocaine is what I'm trying to say. I can't imagine this movie got through a final screening and everyone went, oh yeah, this is gonna go super well. It's like everyone was on so much cocaine because the writers all left to go do True Detective, and they're like, hey man, sorry, it's up to you guys now.
Yeah, I gotta go write Westworld.
You beautiful, charismatic, stupid drug addicts. Whatever. Like, I don't know. And I have no idea. Like, I've never been in the room with those people, but like, man, there are especially all the DC movies, like, oh man, they're so bad in a way that seems just structurally obvious. Like,
Yeah.
man, this movie is so bad, and I don't see how you didn't see that unless you were just absolutely blasted on cocaine.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that is like the same train of dialogue that was like, if in the idea that like I mean, you can even see that in like the good ones, like Wonder Woman, like the final act of that movie is bananas, where she fights the God of War. That whole thing is insano.
It's like you go through a whole speech about how like, hey, there's not a God of War. Like, actually, men are just evil, or men have evil in them, and they just fight, and like that's just how it is. And you
like,
can't.
and then it remembered it was a superhero movie. It's like psych. Or like those
actually God of War.
Yeah, those cocaine executives are like, wait. How are people going to know if they're watching it? How are people going to know they're watching a superhero movie if there's not a final showdown?
They woke up off of their Tony Montana table of cocaine. They're like, wait. So wait, he's not. There's just no. Can we get a sky beam? How about that? Can we throw a sky beam in there? And
okay, get that in post.
No, but actually it's the guy who's never done anything evil the entire film, and yeah, and he's just there. But
The movie is
Sure.
saved.
How did he get there? How did he just randomly get to this location that's like hundreds of miles from where he was? That's not my job. That's your job. That's not my job. It's your job. Then he runs out in the streets, and that's how they ruin the end of Wonder Woman.
Yeah. And then, like that one thing you said that one time, it's like, oh, okay, how far are we in Justice League? We're actually doing pretty well. The Amazon's costumes are already designed. We're going to take the ones from Wonder Woman. No. Take those costumes from Wonder Woman, make them sexy.
Make them real sexy.
I don't think it's going to work out for like the tone of the film, and I feel like we've already established the Amazon's new. You're
That's not my job. That's your job. That's not my job. That's your job.
I'm saying that if these costumes aren't sexy by the time I get back, someone is going to get fired.
Oh my gosh, movies are so bad. Let's stop talking about bad movies. Can we can that be a part of the show?
Sure.
We don't talk about bad movies.
Don't talk about bad movies and don't talk about that one guy.
We don't talk about, yeah. There are so many good movies. Let's just talk about good movies. Movies are so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, Mindhunter's good.
Mindhunter is good. Show. Yeah.
Mindhunter's good. All right.
Well, Mindhunter's good. See you. Bye.
Bye.